Okay, so Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh and very good evening to all of you. So CADe is welcome everyone to join for the session today by Dr. Mas Nida Muhammad Khambari from Faculty of Educational Studies UPM. Welcome Dr. Mas.
Thank you.
Yeah, which the topics today is using social media in teaching and learning. So our moderator today is Dr. Chong Chow Min. So Dr. Chong, okay, so I would like to invite you to host this webinar series today. Okay, so Dr. Chong, time is yours, Dr. Chong.
Thank you, Dr. Wan. Right, welcome everyone to the webinar series of CADe, Online Learning for All. So my name is Chong Chow Min. I'm the co-host and MC and moderator of today's webinar. So today's topics will be presented by Dr. Mas Nida. She is actually a senior lecturer of Faculty of Educational Studies, UPM. So without further ado, we welcome Dr. Mas. Dr. Mas, please, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Chong. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to online webinar by CADe. First of all, I would like to thank CADe for the opportunity to let me share some of my experience in using social media in teaching and learning. Okay, let me see. Can you see my slides or not yet? Can you see the slides already?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
All right, let me see. Okay. Okay, so let me try to move this away. Okay, using social media in teaching and learning. This is part of the webinar series by CADe for online learning for all. It is my pleasure to be here and I would like to thank it again for this opportunity for me to share my experience with all of you. As we all know, social media is everywhere and it is not going away anytime soon, especially in when we are facing this pandemic crisis. So let's begin with the structure of sharing session. So just a matter of wayfinding. What we are going today is we are going to do this together. Okay, first we want to get a clearer picture of what is social media, and then we will also walk through some examples as well as the advantages and disadvantages or limitations of using social media in teaching and learning. And finally, I will walk you through the design of a technique on how to systematically use WhatsApp mobile application for teaching and learning as the most common media in teaching and learning. Okay, because why not? Okay, we have only 1 hour, but why not we just focus on WhatsApp? Because it is the top most used apps worldwide, and Malaysia has the highest penetration rate of WhatsApp user at 81%. So I think sometimes if we have too much choice, we can become indecisive too. So why not we stick to one as a beginning, all right? Okay, Zimnowicz says that social media is the new normal. Okay, new normal. So what does he mean by this? Okay, so it's almost everywhere. Almost everybody has their own social media account. Almost everybody. So it's not going away anytime soon. It's not a fad now, but it is rather a fundamental or fundamental shift in the way people communicate with one another. All right, it is more than pictures of babies, more than just sharing the music that you're listening to, food that you cook during the MCO, or what you ate for breakfast, what movie that you binge watch on Netflix. So if one type of a social media, let's say particularly WhatsApp, has gained 1.6 billion users in a day, it must be more. So why can't we use that in education? So where should we put education in this kind of revolution right now? So in the year 2008, when social media has started to gain their momentum in penetrating Malaysia, for many people, it's quite hazy. We do not know what is social media. Why do we have to put our profile on social media? Because it is something that is not natural to us at that time. It is not centralized. It's transparent. At the same time, it's also not transparent. Okay, you can be friends with anybody, or you can also, you can just add strangers as your friends at that time. So we are rather excited, at the same time scared to use social media. But I think now it's worth to highlight what social media can do as a new way of interaction, and it has become a new normal right now. Okay, so what is social media? Basically, it is a web-based service that allows you as the users, to recreate what you have in your real life situation. So you can emulate what you have. Okay, what you have in your real life, you can emulate in a digital world or in an online world. So for instance, if you have a Facebook profile, you can share with your friends what you are currently doing, what you are feeling right now, feeling sad, feeling bored, feeling happy, feeling animated, and then what song you're listening to and whatnot. Better yet, you do not even have to go out and meet them. You just have to post it on your profile, and those in your friends list know what you are up to at that time. At the same time, you can also join or participate in a group that shares the same interest, and then you can share pictures, you can share notes, documents, multiple types of media on social media. So it has become a reservoir of information to many of us, because you can just go there and get so many information on your social media. All right. Let me see. So I think it is also good to juxtapose between social media and social network. So some people use these two terms interchangeably. So what is social media? So what is social network? It is good to know what it is and what it almost is. Okay, so social media, as its name, as you know, its name, it's called media. It is the content that you upload. So whether it is a blog, a video, or a podcast, or news letter on ebook, okay, it is basically a one-to-many communication method. But you, as the owner of the social media, you have the control of what you want to share. You can choose what you want to share. You can also, but the responsibility is more on the owner of the social media. Like you have to keep on, posting something like text or images or videos on your social media, and other people cannot have control over that in a way that they cannot remove or delete, but they can surely comment on that. So that goes to social network. Okay, so it is very close to one another. So usually you use social media to express yourself in different forms. And also, of course, it involves technology or mobile technologies most of the time. All right. So like I just said just now, okay, social media and social network, these two terms are usually used interchangeably. All right. So what about social network? So social network focuses more on engagement. It helps you to create relationship, like you add friends, and then like on Facebook, for instance, they will ask you to verify or validate whether you are friends, whether you are sisters to this other person, who's your father, who's your mother, who's your spouse, and whatnot. All right. So it is more about creating relationships, building followers, and connecting with one another. So it is more than just the sharing of media. So in social network, people are more actively engaged in exchanging ideas with one another with several types of media. Okay, and you can also curate something in the social network with one another. And the data that you share over social network, something like images, videos, blogs, files, and comments to one another, and etc. Right. So I found this diagram very helpful by Thomas Sack in 2018. So he justifies, or he juxtaposes it really nicely in this diagram. So social network, as seen in this diagram, is the inner part of Web 2.0, the World Wide Web. Okay, so social network can be a social media, but social media may not be a social network. So for instance, Quora is a forum platform. You do not have to add friends on Quora. You can communicate with one another without specifically limiting who can interact with you and who cannot interact with you. So it is a social media, but it is not a social network. Okay, so let's get to what are the advantages and limitations of social media in teaching and learning. All right, so there are several advantages, of course, but for this particular presentation, I have consolidated the advantages and benefits of using social media in teaching and learning into 6 different categories. Okay, firstly, of course, we believe that it can increase student collaboration. Okay, you know that students are able to work on a common task together. It's easy for them to work on a common task together if they meet face to face. But it is also possible to be done on online. Okay, on any social media platform. Okay. So you can encourage students to collaborate with one another using curation platforms like Pinterest or Tumblr or Google Docs, right? And then second one, it has increased student participation through web rendezvous. I think some of us may have experienced this. When we do our class physically, when we meet our students in the classroom, most of our students, they tend to be shy. Okay, they shy away from us. When we try to ask questions, they will avoid eye contact. They do not want to make any eye contact with us as much as possible because they do not want to get picked to answer any questions. But in social media, surprisingly, it has increased student participation. Okay, and why? Because in social media, it has become their web rendezvous. Like they can straight away go find information, and with that, they have the confidence to participate in the classroom. The third one, projects are easier to review. Like we have collaboration tools like Asana, Trello, and Google Docs. Also, it offers richer learning experience and resources can be shared easily. A lot of media is available online. Okay, when we are in our class also, if we say something or if we throw a term that the students have never heard before, they will straight away take out their phone and then they will Google for information. So it offers richer learning experience because they can get the resources, they can straight away download the image, or they can just copy the link and then share with one another easily. Just click forward if you're using WhatsApp or Telegram, just forward to other friends, okay, and the information is disseminated. Next is finding concrete information online. Okay, it benefits to us and to the students as well. When we get information, and then we get a link. So we share the link in our WhatsApp group or in our Facebook or in Instagram. Those who gets that link can straight away click on that link, and they will be directed to the specific to the dedicated website that we wanted our students to look at. Okay, so information can be easily shared, and they just by the click of a button, students may not have any experience, or it minimizes the experience of students salah key in link, when we have like Google Docs, capital D, Y, small y, X, and then numbers, by having that kind of link, students are very easy, can easily go to the dedicated website. Okay, and finally, it offers opportunities for distance learning, especially during MCO period. But how? We are going to get into that later. All right, limitations and disadvantages. Of course, there are a few, but I would like to emphasize here that these limitations and disadvantages, of course, can be minimized or systematically managed. So we will go through that technique on how we can systematically manage these kind of limitations and disadvantages. Okay, first we have lesser control on students' participation, of course. But to resonate what Dr. Aira mentioned in her webinar yesterday, writing a clause such as, telling the students that their participation will be monitored and it will be counted as their attendance, for instance, it can minimize this limitation. Second one, distractions can also become an issue. Learners nowadays, they like to multitask. So while they are listening to our presentation, they might open up their WhatsApp, or they might listen to songs on Spotify, at the same time watch videos on YouTube, read news on online newspaper website, or read an ebook and whatnot. So they have all of these things on multiple tabs, and it can be very distracting at times. But what would be helpful if we can set the tone beforehand, like we can tell the students, okay, this is, we are going to conduct our lesson, or we are going to conduct our classroom from this hour to this hour. Take it like a face-to-face physical teaching and learning class. Okay, you give the date, you give the time, just like a sit-in class lecture. I think that would help the students to stay focused. All right. Second, the third one would be a delayed feedback, especially when, let's say we have a WhatsApp group, and we have like a number of students, 40 students in that WhatsApp group. And then when you ask questions, or students ask a lot of questions, 10 students ask questions at the same time, so they might experience delayed feedback. Because why? First, it might be caused by the instructors unfamiliarity with the social media, which is WhatsApp in this instance. The second one would be because there's a surplus of questions by the students, and the instructor may not be actively involved in using social media. Okay, some lecturers or some instructors, they do not check on their social media all the time. Okay, I think this can also be addressed if we are able to manage our class systematically. Okay.
Dr. Mas?
Yes.
There's a questions from YouTube. One is addressed by Dr. Zulfazana. She's asking about will the social media classes be acknowledged officially and even through WhatsApp platform? Another question is from YouTube also. If the attendance need to be want to ask if the attendance need to be considered for virtual teaching, what will be your suggestion for evidence of record of attendance? I believe you have the slide to share about attendance, right?
Yeah. For Dr. Zufarzana's question, I believe it is Kate who is more who can answer this question. Like, can it be? What was the question again? Can it be counted as?
The question is, will the social media classes be acknowledged
Or be
officially?
acknowledged.
Yeah.
I think it is not me who can answer that question. I will leave it to Kate. If any other Kate members are here to answer that, Dr. Wan Marzuki, or maybe.
Okay, this is a very challenging question, but for the time being, we have to wait for the policymakers. But the most important thing is we try to, for me, we try to utilize the social media to enhance the students' learning. Okay, for that question, we have to wait. We have to wait for the policymaker to make the certain rules and regulations. Right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Wan Marzuki. And the second question, we will get to that slide very soon afterwards. Okay, how we can gather evidence on students' attendance or submissions and whatnot. Any other questions? Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. Okay, there's would like to add on for the questions about whether we acknowledge the WhatsApp officially. I think it's just a tool for e-learning, and also it's back to the fundamentals. We actually want to enhance student understandings. So whether or not it actually be acknowledged officially, it's actually you can consider it as an activity to improve the teaching and learnings for your classes. Okay, whether like can you count the attendance and so on, we wait for the official statement, but I believe this is a strong tool, especially it's actually quite common for everyone, the students and also the lecturers. Even before MCO, students ask a lot of questions in WhatsApp. I believe is we back to the fundamental is actually to enhance understanding of the teaching and learnings.
Yeah, yeah,
exactly. I do
you are
agree
right.
with
You
Dr.
are
Chong.
right. Yeah, I also agree with Dr. Chong. So our function is to enhance for the students' learning, right? To help the students. Okay, thank you.
There's one question. What is the maximum number for participants allowed in WhatsApp video call? I can answer that question.
Okay.
Before this is 4, but now during the COVID-19 critical period, they have increased to 16.
16.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks, Dr. Chong, for answering that question. All right. So I shall proceed with another limitations and disadvantages. I hope my following slides will answer some of the questions that Dr. Chong has thrown in just now. All right. So in terms of privacy issue, you know, some students, they rely on social media for all contexts. You know, so you have to choose either you have to choose to either making your lessons available or public to everybody, or turn it into a private group if it is on Facebook or any other social networking sites. Okay, so you also do not want to infringe any copyright or get involved in any issues regarding that. So if you put your materials online and then you have something that you downloaded or you have infringed any copyrights, so you have to be extra careful on that, because most of us tend to use available resources online. So you have to check whether it is listed under Creative Commons or not. And finally, we have to deal with the issues of assessment and academic honesty. Like yesterday's session, Dr. Nur Aira has mentioned about academic honesty and about e-exam. So this is assessment and academic honesty. Like, you know, how can you ensure the students do the assessments themselves? So those are the questions that that we have. Okay. But if you can check on them formatively by randomly picking on some students and then ask them to explain something or express their thoughts on some issues, that would, in one way or another, help to reduce this issue of assessment and academic honesty. Again, I would like to emphasize that the risk of facing these challenges or limitations can be minimized with a proper or systematic technique. All right. So let's look at these examples of social media. All right. How many of you are familiar with this social media? Right. So I would say out of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. Out of these 9 social medias, I'm only active on 2 social media platforms. Okay. There's too much. There's too many. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of social media available, but you have to choose only one. Okay. So which one do you want to choose? Okay. There's a lot. Okay. First of all, I would choose something that I'm familiar with. But of course, there are other key points that you have to consider. Okay, especially for text messaging, social media. Okay, first thing you have to consider is you have to know your students, right? So how many students in your class are international students? How many of them are local students? Where are they right now? Are they back in their home country? Are they in Malaysia? What's their location in Malaysia? Okay, what's the time difference? So you have students in Kuwait, you have students in China, you have students in Saudi Arabia. So you have students from, all over the world. So we need to know where their location so that you can know the time difference between you and your student's location. And most importantly is you need to know their bandwidth speed as well. All right. Okay, next is about accessibility of social media. Some of my students have mentioned to me that, especially students from China, they have mentioned that WhatsApp is blocked in their country. So you have to think of, okay, what else can you use other than WhatsApp, right? Because we want to make sure everybody, each and every of our students will get the same access to our lesson. Okay, and then you have to know also the limit number of participants that each social media can afford. Okay, so do you plan to have a group chat? For instance, on WhatsApp, do you plan to have a group chat? How many people can you add in one group chat? Okay, so for WhatsApp, you can have up to 256 participants in a group chat. Also 256 participants in a broadcast. For Telegram, you can have a basic group of 200 people. You can also have up to 100,000 participants in a super group. And for a Telegram channel, you can have unlimited number of subscribers. So Telegram channel works like YouTube. You have your own channel. Okay, people can subscribe to your channel and people can look back at what you have posted previously before they subscribe to your channel. So that is the difference between channel and group messaging, right? So you can weigh your options and competency in using these social media. But despite all this, we all know that doors of education is open wide right now. It's getting wider with the use of several social media. Okay, am I going too fast?
No, it's okay. Dr. Mas, I would like to clarify.
Uh-huh.
Actually, the 16 is not WhatsApp. It's actually for Snapchat, 16 to 32.
Oh,
So,
Snapchat. All right.
yeah, WhatsApp still 4.
Yeah.
Yes, WhatsApp still 4.
Okay. Thanks for
Thanks.
the
Sorry.
clarification, Dr. Chong. Okay, so let's look at this matrix. Okay, this bandwidth immediacy matrix of instructional technology. I must credit Dr. Nur Fadlina for sharing this with me, and I found it very useful in explaining the types of instructional technology that you can use according to the immediacy and bandwidth speed. Okay, immediacy in the horizontal axis, okay, it represents how quickly you expect your student to get back to you after you give assignment to them. Okay, and the vertical axis represents the bandwidth. Okay, low bandwidth up to high bandwidth. And this diagram is divided into 4 zones or quadrants. Okay, so let's look at the yellow or green zone. Okay, if you have low bandwidth and you have low immediacy, you do not need your students to respond to you immediately. You have time. You give your students some liberty to work on their assignments. So the things that you can do is you can use email or readings with text or images, you know, like sharing PDF articles or whatnot. But although this sounds so boring or not as exciting as any other methods, this can be useful, particularly if you put a lot of effort in it and you show to your students that yes, this is my way of doing my work. This is what we are going to do. I am checking on your progress. I am going to post something every week, and I'm going to give feedback every week. So this is what you can do, okay, if you have low bandwidth and low immediacy. Okay, so moving on to the blue zone. Okay, so this blue zone is where you can still use simple instructional tools in a low bandwidth situation, but high immediacy. All right. So if you have used Google Docs, you might probably belong to this belong to this quadrant or zone. Okay, so you can use collaborative documents, and also we can also use group chat and messaging. Okay, WhatsApp. We can use Telegram. We can use Facebook Messenger. So this is the type of tools that you can use if the students and you have low bandwidth, but you have high immediacy. So by having WhatsApp or group chat and messaging, the communication or interaction would be faster. Okay, so let's move on to the yellow quadrant or yellow zone. Okay, you have high bandwidth, your students also have high bandwidth, but there is low immediacy. Okay, again, you do not need your students to respond immediately to you. So what you can do is you can use pre-recorded video, pre-recorded audio. You can also have asynchronous sessions, which means it is not done in real time. You can use video for that is asynchronous discussion. You can also use audio for asynchronous discussion. During Dr. Radia Shukri session and Dr. Nadia, okay, they have mentioned a few tools. Okay, among others is Loom. Okay, you can use Loom and also Screencast-O-Matic, where you can pre-record your teaching and then you can share with your students so they can download it. They can view it, they can take the time to respond back to the media or materials that we have shared with them. Okay, so going to the fourth quadrant, which is the red zone, is something that we dreamed of having if we could. Okay, we have high bandwidth and high immediacy. So it is almost similar to face-to-face kind of interaction. So we can do video conferences and audio conferences, just like what we are doing today. So we use Zoom, we use Skype, or we can use MS Teams, Microsoft Teams for this kind of instructional technology. All right. So you can click on that link to read more about this matrix if you're interested. So let's look at the choices of teaching approach in various bandwidth connection. This is prepared by CADe. Actually, CADe has prepared a lot of materials, and this guideline is very helpful if you're looking for what can you do for students, for teaching and learning, for students in low bandwidth connection. So CADe has suggested some options. Okay, so I found this guideline a very fantastic one. So you can check it out on KID's website. You go on that link, click on the FAQ section, and you can view on how the guidelines on how we can conduct teaching and learning in response to COVID. All right. I'd like also to resonate Dr. Radia Shukri on her presentation last week on internet bandwidth. So this has circulated in our WhatsApp groups. Okay, how can we identify what is the internet bandwidth of our students? So what I did was I conducted a simple survey on my students' internet connection. So this is the data for FCE 3401 Educational Technology Group 1. Okay, from all of the students, 16%, it's just a small fraction of my students, but it is significant, okay, because we do not want any students to be left behind. So that's only 16% of them who has low bandwidth internet connection speed. But the students said that even though we have low bandwidth, we would suggest you to teach using WhatsApp. This is what they said. Okay, it can be, according to them, okay, WhatsApp can be used even if you have basic data. The files can be shared easily, you know, it's very basic to use, and the government has also provided free data to us, so it's easier to communicate there. All right. Some concerns, Some concerns. I believe that we have a lot of concerns, but some concerns that is typical among us is that, okay, how do I take my students' attendance? Everyone is in the group. Everyone is already in the group if I use WhatsApp. So how do I take the attendance? Okay, and then how do I do assessment? How do I save their submissions? They have submitted in WhatsApp. So how do I save their submissions? And how do I get evidence? Okay, this is the question that Dr. Chong has helped to post just now. How do I get evidence? All right. So for today, my focus will be on WhatsApp. All right. I'm sharing my experience in using WhatsApp in teaching and learning. It started in 2017 when I had to attend a conference in New Zealand. Okay, so I plan to optimize WhatsApp because my students are on WhatsApp most of the time. After all, fun fact about WhatsApp is that people tend to spend 195 minutes a day checking messages on WhatsApp. All right, so that's like more than 3 hours a day checking messages on WhatsApp. So why don't we just use it for teaching and learning? All right, so more fun facts about social media and WhatsApp before we go into detail and why you should consider using it for teaching and learning. So Malaysians are declared as world's largest WhatsApp user. Okay, and we know that there's 1.6 billion monthly active users on WhatsApp. And this year, okay, Malaysia is at 81% of penetration rate of social media, and we are ranked 4th in the world. Okay, and also WhatsApp is top 3 most active social media apps in Malaysia. So what's not to love about it for teaching and learning? Why don't we just use it? Okay, and better yet, let's take it as a blessing in disguise. When our government announced that they are going to carry out this Prihatin Raya initiative, all telcos in Malaysia get on board with this initiative by offering 1 gig of data per day, which can be used between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. between working hours. So this was started on 1st of April, and it will go throughout the MCO period. So we have a lot of things that we can do with this data. All right. So being a responsible instructor, we have to play our role in augmenting teaching learning virtually. All right. This nice infographic is also from CADe website. Okay, if we look at this infographic, okay, what are our role? Okay, we have to design our teaching delivery using the appropriate elements and applications. So what are the elements that we have? What applications do we have? Okay, how can we merge them together? And then if we already have that, we can upload our materials related to topic before implementing the virtual lecture. So it's kind of like a flip learning principles. Okay, provide information on activities in virtual class. You have to be very clear what you want to do. So convey your expectations to your students. Okay, and then conduct synchronous virtual class. You can do it like you can do like video conferencing with your students, or you can also choose to conduct a synchronous virtual class, especially for students with low bandwidth. Right? Mark students' attendance based on participation in virtual class. How do we do that? Okay. And finally, provide students with feedback on activities and assessments in virtual class. Okay. So we know our role. It's there. So the next step is knowing how to design or making your lesson systematic on a social media platform. All right, so if people ask me, what are you going to do? Okay. For your teaching and learning on WhatsApp, I said I'm going to twist. Okay. It's not about dancing actually, right? It's not about dancing, but it's actually a technique to systematically teach using WhatsApp. So initially, my colleagues and I at the Faculty of Educational Studies, we created this technique to help solve teaching and learning challenges, especially when we have to go to conferences or we have to we have to accompany students for mobility programs. And now we found it useful, especially when we are facing this pandemic crisis. Okay, so what is to twist? Okay. I hope you can use this as a plug and play method for your own lesson on WhatsApp. So to twist, it's actually TTWISS, but to pronounce it easier, okay, let's just call it to twist. Okay. So T stands for trigger. I will get into detail of each and every one of these. Think, write, signal, and finally send. Okay. Trigger, think, write, signal, send. Okay, this technique will help you to be more efficient or more systematic in carrying out your teaching and learning on WhatsApp. Okay, so this is a guiding instruction that I posted in my WhatsApp group with my students. Okay, you can copy and paste this if you want to. Okay, so what I did was I put these instructions in the WhatsApp group. Okay, it reads, please read the instructions carefully and practice proper netiquette during our learning session. Okay, step 1, I will give either a picture or document, note, or audio and throw a few questions for discussion. That is step 1. Step 2, you or the students will be given the time to digest and think before you can start giving your responses. So this is instructions to your students. Okay. Step 3, type your responses in the dialog box. Okay. As an alternative, you may also give this instruction. Okay. Draw your responses on a piece of paper and snap a picture of it. Upload it into the dialog box. Do not click on the send icon yet. Okay. Do not click on the send icon yet. So let it be in the dialog box, but do not send it. Do not post it to the group. Okay, step 4, I will give instructions for you to submit your responses with a 3, 2, 1 countdown method. Okay, and step 5, once I say now or send, you may click on the send icon and submit your responses to the group chat. Okay. Additional instruction, please do not interrupt at any times unless there is an urgency. Only I, which is the instructor, can use the bold function for you to easily identify me in the group chat unless otherwise stated. So this is the first instructions that I give to my students before I begin my lesson using WhatsApp. All right. So prior to the lesson, so now you have your WhatsApp group. Okay, you have posted that in your WhatsApp group. Okay. So now you're ready to start your lesson. You have to take your students' attendance. Okay, let's say for this class STE 3701 group 1. Okay, after giving the instructions and taking some time, I told my student, okay, firstly, I'm going to take your attendance. Please write your name and your metric number. Okay, this was in 2017 when the culture of copying and adding to the list have not started yet. So that is why they do it like this. Okay, so they give their name and metric number. So this step helps the student to gives the tone that, okay, I'm serious about my class. This is a class. I'm taking your attendance. Okay, so this helps to curb the issues of academic dishonesty. All right. Okay, and then let's get to the first. We will start to twist. Okay, we will start to twist. Okay, the first step is to trigger the students. Okay, you can trigger the students by, giving pictures, or you can also upload audio file, post it in the WhatsApp group, a PDF document. But I would suggest giving pictures because pictures are faster and easier to transmit in the conversation. Okay. The next step after trigger is think. All right. You let your students think. Okay. You can tell the students, okay, I'm going to give you 10 minutes to digest and think about this, and then write your responses. What do you think about this picture? Okay, what does this picture tell? So you can ask that kind of question and then you let the students think. Okay, the next step is write. Okay, write. So after they are given the time to think, they will start writing or typing in the text box. Okay, but they are reminded that they cannot click on the send icon yet. Okay, this is the send icon. So do not click on the send icon yet. So they can write or they can draw. These are some examples of what my students draw, and then they take pictures of what they have drawn. Next is giving signal to the students. All right. So you will start to tell your students, okay, get ready to submit your responses in 3, 2, 1. Okay, and then you put 3, send, 2, 1, and then you finally tell your students to send. So this is the signal that your students is waiting for. Okay, so they will send their responses all at the same time or simultaneously. All right, so this is send, the final step. So I'm going to show you a video on how a simulation of how twist is applied in my classroom. Let me see. I'll try to turn off the laser pointer. All right. I'll play this video again. Right. So let's start from the beginning. Okay, so trigger, that is the first T. I give a picture and then give some questions to the students and ask the students to think, give a signal to the students, then ask the students to send. So the students submit their responses simultaneously. All right. I know this may look kind of overwhelming when students submit their responses simultaneously, but actually what this step, the final step, is trying to do is we want to help to curb the problem or the issues of academic dishonesty. You know, nowadays on WhatsApp, when one person wishes happy birthday on WhatsApp, on a WhatsApp group, the other tend to copy and then paste and send it again. So it's just a culture of copy and pasting everything. So we do not want that to happen. We really want to make sure that the students really think, they really do it themselves. We want to see that students put their effort into this teaching and learning process. We want them to participate. So this is the least that this method can offer, so that students will not tend to copy one another's work. Okay, any questions so far?
Yeah, there's two questions from YouTube and
Mhm.
also a very good discussion on YouTube regarding to the question. So the
Okay.
first question is actually addressed by Dr. Nazato. She asked about some of my students are very, very low bandwidth connections and they can give response through WhatsApp, but any document or image can't be downloaded from their slide. Any suggestions? So there's actually few discussion regarding to the questions. I read it out for you.
Yeah,
So
sure. Everybody can listen to that discussion too.
Dr. Farina replied, he said, can consider to slice your materials, save your slide as JPEG, and then send separately. And also ask a student to submit their work sketch by hand and send as images, as you mentioned before. And also there's one good tip shared by Dr. Sharifa. She said, perhaps we can send the document earlier, at least a day before. So before the synchronous online learning, so the student can take time, download the documents. And another question by Dr. Ismi, he asked about, is it good that we set ground rules and ethics before we begin our class via social media to ensure there won't be any post while posting from students which are not proper, and any tools? Yeah, those are the questions.
Okay, I want to say that our audience today are fantastic. They have great tips and suggestions. Okay, and they can really read my mind before I show my slides. Okay, that's so cool. Okay, and to answer what Dr. Ismi asked, okay, I think it's when we are doing online learning like this, especially on WhatsApp, there is I would say that I do not know if there is any tool available to prevent the students from sharing or posting to the group inappropriate contents. But what we can do is we can take this as an opportunity to educate our students about netiquette. So that is why at the guiding instructions, I have mentioned earlier that please practice proper netiquette when communicating online. It's a learning experience for the students as well. So it is our responsibility to not only teach our students, but also we can help our students. We can help mold the character of our students. Okay, so it's a 2-in-1 to me. That's the best that I can say right now. Yes, Dr. Chong? I cannot hear you. You're muted.
There's two questions asked. Sorry about that. One question addressed by Dr. Nazato. She asked like, if say you have a large group and you would need to take some times to go through one by one what's the student answer. So any tips? So I believe you have the export tips to share, right?
Yeah, Dr. Nazatishima, if you can wait just a little bit, we're going to get to that part where I'm going to show a step-by-step method on how we can save or gather all the evidence from our students. Is that okay? Method on how we can save or gather all.
All right. So there's another question asked by Ustad Dr. Ahmad Nasir. He asked, can you share if any rubrics can be used to make WhatsApp best platform in his class?
So any rubric to what?
To make the WhatsApp a good platform.
I don't get that question. Can you?
I think it's regarding the pertaining to the rubric. I think it's actually rubric have to customize to his or her class. let's say they are measuring certain PO or certain attributes or certain knowledge cognitive levels, then he need to customize the rubric. There's no generic rubrics for class, just like there's no fixed rubric for any other platform also.
Yeah, talking about rubric, it is to me rubric is customized for each course. Okay, I believe each course have their own PO, CO, and we have to customize our own rubrics because we know what we want to measure and at what level we want our students to achieve. But we can always benchmark or look up on the website or online, okay, about rubrics, because to be honest, I have different rubrics. I set rubrics for my students, but there are, I believe it would be different from other courses rubrics, but you can always use other rubrics as references to write your own rubrics. There's also online rubric tool that you can use to create your rubrics, but I think that's going to be a whole new session if we want to talk about rubric. Is there any more, Dr. Chong?
Yeah, should be okay. Oh, there's one question in the Zoom. So it's from Dr. No Rohaiza. She asked about immediately after students submit their response, we will actually need to spend a little bit time to go through all the response.
Exactly.
Does it mean that student need to wait for some time before we can resume the discussion, or we can just proceed and look into the response later? Yeah.
Okay. I think what we can do, I know, because for this online classroom that I'm showing in this simulation, I have 52 students. So to look one by one, it's laborious. It's very laborious task. It's tedious. There's a lot. But we do not want to just just brush it off and then tell us, okay, next question. So we're not going to do that. So we have to like at least choose randomly some of the responses and respond to them. Okay, this is a good response, and then just elaborate a little bit on the students' responses. What I was going to say just now, it does take a lot of time. So what we have to remember also when we are doing online classroom, especially when we are using WhatsApp for our teaching and learning, it's not going to be the same like how we are doing it in our classroom. Expect to spend more time attending students' question, because students they have a lot of questions on social media, but no questions when we meet them face to face. All right, so we have to attend questions, attend to their comments. It's going to take some time. And remember that when you are conducting lessons like this, you have to micromanage it, like not to put everything in a bulk. So take it, make it bite size, so that the topic that you cover is not too big, it's not going to take too long. So sometimes 1 hour lesson in WhatsApp, you can manage to teach only maybe a fraction of a topic that you can spend 1 hour teaching in classroom.
Okay, Dr. Mas, we have 2 questions here, but I think I will compile and ask the question later, or we will proceed with presentation.
All right, okay, sure. Thanks, Dr. Chong. Okay. So now is the time where we are going to save all our evidence. How are we going to save all evidence? So right now, if you have your phone with you, you can just open up any WhatsApp group that you have, okay, and try to get into one of the groups and look at the top right corner of your WhatsApp group, and you will see that 3 dots over there. So not just on your WhatsApp group. If you have your phone, let's say pictures, you look at the picture gallery and you can see that 3 dots. That means there's something over there. There's a menu. So click there. So click on the dot. And then the second one, this menu will appear. Okay, group info, group media, search, mute, wallpaper, more. So click on more, because the export option is on the next menu, right? So you want to export your chat. Okay, once you click on export chat, okay, this pop-up window will appear. All right. So do you want to include your media, or you do not want to include your media? So this is important because you want to get all the evidence, the pictures that your students posted on WhatsApp, the PDF files, you know, the documents. So you choose include media. Okay, click on include media. Sorry. Okay, click on include media. And the fifth step, okay, this will appear. So where do you want to send your chat? Okay, do you want to send it on WhatsApp or Gmail? You can either choose to add it to your Dropbox if you have Dropbox messages. Okay, so there are a few options. What you can do is you can choose send it to your email. All right. If you do not want to send it to your email, you can choose to add it to your Dropbox, or you can also save to your drive or OneDrive. These files will be compiled in a zip file, zip folder. So in the zip folder, when you extract the zip folder, you will get all the text messages, all the pictures, and documents, okay, all together in that zip folder. Or alternatively, you can also click on combine to Adobe PDF. So everything will be compiled in one PDF file for you, right? But I would say the safest option is, and the fastest option is to choose Gmail, send to your email. Okay. And finally, right, you can access the chat archive in the chosen location. So let's say you save it in your email. You send an email to yourself. Okay, so it should appear in your email within an hour or less. Okay, depending on the size of your chat. Okay, so you will get a few types of files. So you will get .txt. Okay, so download the zip folder, extract the zip folder. So you will see there is .txt files, okay, text files or notepad. Okay, and documents and images will be exported as well. So everything is in the folder. I think to answer the question of how are you going to read all the feedback of the students, you can do it like this. You know, when you download the chat, so you can read, if you want to read in detail, okay, what the students have written, you can do it at that time.
I have
All right.
question, Dr. Mas.
Yes. Can I know who's speaking?
I'm Azura, Nur Azura.
Okay. Okay. Hi, Dr. Azura.
Yeah. So if let's say, so when you say that you can save all the history of your WhatsApp, is it going to be the whole document or just per day? I mean, according to day?
Everything that you have in the chat group since the beginning.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, welcome. So everything that you have in the chat group since the beginning, okay, or since you entered the group, okay, you can download all of the documents, text messages, and whatnot. All right. So additional tips, okay, for teaching with WhatsApp. Okay, you can design your lesson as a flipped classroom as suggested by Dr. Sharifah just now. Okay, so you can give notes ahead of online lecture time. So it's a combination of asynchronous and synchronous learning. So first, you give the materials to your students. Okay, ask them to read about it, digest. Okay, and then you can do it synchronously when we have that two-twist session with our students, right? Second one, you can start the lesson or class earlier to allow time for attendance taking and housekeeping. You know, explaining the students about netiquette, okay, the do's and don'ts of online learning. Okay, the third one is you can consider giving audio lectures compared to video, because video eats up a lot of your data. So you can give audio lectures to accompany your notes. For instance, when you give your slides earlier, or you give your notes earlier to your students, okay, like in tip number 1, okay, make sure the notes that you give your students are labeled or have page numbers, so that when you give an audio lecture, you record your audio, you can tell that, okay, now I'm reading or I'm explaining the notes on page 4. I'm at page 4. Okay, I'm going to explain about the diagram on page 5. Okay, figure 1, for instance. So this can help your students to learn better, okay, when you have proper referencing. Okay, number 4, I think most of us have shifted towards this. Okay, we can use a desktop version on computer to manage a large number of messages quickly and efficiently. So it's easier to type on a keyboard rather than typing on your phone. And you can also scroll up and down. Okay, you can traverse through the messages easily when you use a desktop version of WhatsApp or Telegram, for instance. Okay. Any questions so far?
Yes, there's few questions. Okay,
Oh,
so
okay.
okay, so one question addressed by Dr. Tan and also triggers some discussions. Okay, Dr. Tan from agriculture, he asked that good move on using WhatsApp to run the class, but it is advisable to reveal our phone numbers to all students because the student might abuse my number later on. For example, texting me in the middle of the night. So any chance to use WhatsApp to start the e-learning class without disclosing our numbers? Then there's actually addressed by the others in the groups. They say that from Dr. Masliana. She say, hi, Dr. Tan, you can use telegrams, create telegram channels. Student can't see your numbers if you use the channels method. So, okay. So that a good tips from the discussion. And one question from Dr. Sabrina. Since before the lockdown, we have all been using various social media and online platforms. If we keep applying new platform, it can be confusing for students. Don't you think we need to adopt an official platform so that students can recognize that this is the official class material? I believe our official platform will be Putra Blast,
Yeah,
but we
I
actually
agree with you.
yeah, we provide multiple choice for students to choose and which one suit your need. Yeah, so there's few questions here from the YouTubes. So the YouTube discussion is from Dr. Muhammad Haiga. He say, is there any idea so we can ensure the response must be unique? They can't get the feedback from the others. And if the response is not evaluated, then I bet it should not be matter. Okay, so another question from Dr. Hazwan. He said, what do you think about WhatsApp business version? This version has extra features such as statistics, auto reply, sorting message features, and etc. Is it reliable for teaching and learning? Yeah, I think so far this question, and we will ask the question later.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to answer to the question of is it advisable to use WhatsApp for business, because to be honest, I have no experience of managing WhatsApp for business other than me texting WhatsApp for business number. But I think you have to have another phone to use that apps. And also the questions of whether we want to give feedback to our students. I think it's gonna take time for you to give feedback to your students, but one way or another you can either give the feedback there and then, or you can always refer back the text file that you have exported from the WhatsApp group. refer to it later, give feedback, and post the feedback again in the WhatsApp group. So that is another option that we can do. But if you have other suggestions, I would welcome any sorts of discussions on this, because I'm also learning from all of you. All right. I think I'll proceed with takeaways before we can open for discussions at the end. All right. So what I would say is the takeaways of this session is that you must choose, make sure you choose a social media that is not intimidating to you and your students. Right. So if you are intimidated, you are not confident to use that social media, that will pose a lot of problem, especially technical problems. Learning new things, it's not easy, especially when it's related to technology. All right. It also boils down to how you design your lesson or how you want your lesson to be conducted. Do you want it to be asynchronous? Do you want it to be synchronous? Do you want to apply the flipped classroom principles? Do you want to make it an active kind of learning, or do you want to make it a delayed feedback kind of learning? So it's up to you and the time that you have, also the kind of students that you have. All right. And then I suggest that you use light or reduced size media, such as images, because WhatsApp always reduce 30% of the original size of pictures or images to save space and also to make for faster transmission. Also, if you want to send files over WhatsApp, if you have, let's say you have a PowerPoint file or you have a Word file, okay, you can save it as PDF and you can choose reduced size PDF file. If you do not choose reduced size PDF files, also your files will be reduced by about 30 to 60% of size, depending on what you have in your Word or PowerPoint. So it will be saved as PDF. So after all, PDF is a better way of sharing notes or materials, because it's a portable document format. So the fonts or the images or the diagrams will stay where they are, rather than if you use Word or PowerPoint, it might appear differently on different devices. Okay, lessons on WhatsApp or social media can be done asynchronous or synchronously, depending on the nature of your lesson for that specific topic. So what I'm trying to say is that you need to micromanage your lesson. So if, like I mentioned just now, so if you teach one topic for 1 hour in a sit-in class or lecture, you may consider, slicing it into smaller packages, because it's gonna be different when you do it on social media. All right. Okay. Also apply micro-learning principles. Okay, you turn your lessons into bite-sized packages. Okay, I think it resonates the previous point. Also, at the same time, by doing so, it will help to reduce attrition rate. Students might lose interest. It's too long. It's too much work. Too many questions to answer at one time. So by slicing it into small packages, okay, or bite-sized packages, it helps to reduce attrition rate. At the same time, it also helps to reduce cognitive load, like too much information. So you have to reduce the cognitive load by, giving bite-sized packages to the students. All right. Other than that, I would say that two-twist technique is rather synchronous in nature, but it can also double as a flipped classroom method if you give the materials earlier, okay, prior to the lesson. Okay, a week before the class or maybe 3 days before you want to start your lesson, you can give materials for the students to read through before we start the two-twist technique in our lesson. Okay, it can also be applied on other social media platforms like Facebook group messaging and Telegram, but you have to make sure that you can gather evidence and media, right? To be honest, I'm not familiar with Telegram. I am on Telegram. I've been using it a few times. You know, I installed it last year and then I uninstall and then I tried to install it again, but I think that's just too much social media to manage. So that is why I stick to just WhatsApp. And Facebook group messaging, you can also apply the same two twist technique. It's just that you have to think of ways how you can gather the evidence and media shared there, other than, you know, saving one by one. Okay, more info on how WhatsApp can help educators can be found at whatsapp.com/coronavirus/educator. I would like to share with you, okay, what they have put up on WhatsApp website. How do I change mine? Sorry about this. Okay, I cannot open up. All right, can you see my screen right now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So if you go to the whatsapp.com, okay, you go to the website. Okay, WhatsApp has actually responded to coronavirus pandemic, and they have a dedicated section for educators on how you can use WhatsApp. Okay, you know, they even educate on how we can use it responsibly, how you can deliver lessons on WhatsApp, okay, how you send and receive assignments. Okay, they also give a step-by-step guideline on how you can use broadcast lists to assign homework. Okay, you can also use group voice and video calls. Okay, and keep students engaged by posting status updates. I have not used this before. You can try this if you want to. And also you can send messages from your computer to easier to quickly and efficiently address to any messages or questions by your students. All right, so I think you can check out what they have there. It's quite interesting. I checked on Telegram. They did not put anything yet. Who knows if there's there? You can also try use Telegram as well. All right, so lastly, I would like to just encourage everybody. So let us all be super better teachers in UPM, okay, especially in this coronavirus pandemic era. So let us all become super better teachers. And that is all for my presentation. Thank you very much.
Right, thank you, Dr. Mas. I would like to address some questions. So there's few discussion and question addressed by both YouTube and Zooms regarding like when we export the chat history, it will be like too large, the files. So there's some tips shared by both Zoom and also YouTube. Is to clear the chat every learning section, so that when you export, you will be more specific to the current learning sections, and the size will be less small in size. So that's it. Yeah,
interesting.
It's a great tips shared by both Zooms and also YouTube.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that tip.
Yeah, we need to acknowledge the, I think it's these tips shared by Doctors Nazato. Yeah, right. So there's few more questions asked. There's one they're asking about. It's not relevant to WhatsApp, but it's about what kind of software you use to record your voice, because it's very clear. And additionally, I would like to add one tip. I think we need to set time. It's particular. I think it's better to stick to our lectures times, because if imagine all students have 4 courses or 5 courses, and each lectures randomly ask question in the during random times, it will be like quite burdening and taxing the student. They have to stand by with their phone. So
exactly, that's a good suggestion. Yeah.
Okay.
Just do it like how we do it in UPM. Follow the schedule.
Yeah, correct. So I think that's it. So only the question about what software you use for your voice recordings.
You mean
Uh,
the session right now?
Yeah, yes. And also a lot of them do not have three buttons, dot buttons on their WhatsApp channels. So they're asking why. Yeah,
Why?
yeah. And it's,
What kind of phone? Is it iPhone? I think is it iPhone or can I know what kind of phones they are using?
let me ask in the YouTube.
Yeah. If you cannot find that three dots, I think you can try to Google on how you can export, because it is a feature in WhatsApp, but you can only find that feature in a mobile phone, mobile app, instead of the desktop version. If you try to use desktop version, then it's not available over there.
Yeah, Dr. Puspa shared that iPhone can export, they have an export tab at the bottom of the information page. So when you click a particular WhatsApp group and then scroll down to the click on the WhatsApp group information page and then scroll down to the button. That's
Okay. That's interesting to know. So if you go to the information part,
yes.
there is part. Oh, it's not available on my phone. So I think different phones have different settings. But
Yeah,
that's good to know. Thanks for sharing.
Okay. I think that's all. Can we, thank you very much, Dr. Mas. Can we give a clappings virtually for Dr. Mas?
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Right.
very much.
Right.
How
So,
do I stop?
Okay. So thank you very much, Dr. Mas. Okay, so and also Dr. Chong for moderates our session today. Okay, so I'm on behalf of CADe. I want to thank everyone for joining us for our webinar series today. So once again, thank you very much, Dr. Nida Muhammad Khambari from Faculty of Educational Studies for a great session today, as well as our great moderator today, Dr. Chong Chow Min. So if you have any feedbacks, so please give your feedback and suggestion for our online CPD training programs through our emails at CADe-Latihan@upm.edu.my at CADe-Latihan@upm.edu.my. So thank you everyone. Stay safe. Stay home. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Kate, for this opportunity. I think I forgot to answer the question of what software I use to record my voice. Actually, I do not use any software. It's just my laptop. I used to have a broken microphone, but it works wonderful today. I don't know why.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah, it's a great. Okay.
Alright.
Okay,
Thank you so
so
much.
we will meet all of you again in the our next webinar series session.
Alright,
Inshallah.
thank you.
So tomorrow, tomorrow. Yes, it's right. We
Okay.
got one more tomorrow. Okay, bye.
Bye.